Hello and happy Mercy Week to all of you at Maria College. I am Sister Ann Curtis, a Sister of Mercy and Executive Director of Mercy Ecology, a ministry of the Sisters of Mercy. Our mission is to inspire reverence for Earth and to live in harmony with all of creation. We offer programs on ecology and eco-spirituality. We offer space to those who come to Mercy Eco-Spirituality Center in southern Vermont, a beautiful place on about 40 acres of land where you can just come for some quiet respite, to find yourself back in the arms of creation and to renew your spirit. It's a beautiful place. I know that many students from Maria have spent time there, have volunteered, and I believe refreshed their own soul and spirit by being in that beautiful land. So if you haven't had the chance, I encourage you, please come, spend some time with us. It means a lot to me to be able to share in your Mercy Week, especially when you have this year-long focus on care of creation, honoring and studying and stepping more deeply into this critical concern of the Sisters of Mercy. It gives me hope and it inspires me. So thank you. Thank you for that. I believe it's especially timely this year that you've chosen the critical concern of Earth, especially when we think about the realities that we're experiencing. This particular year, we have marked the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, which again reminds us to commit ourselves to care for our Earth, to do all that we can to keep Earth healthy. It's also the 5th anniversary of Pope Francis's groundbreaking document, encyclical Laudato Si, on care of our common home. It's an amazing document that I would really encourage you to spend time with and let yourself be inspired and challenged by. We've also been experiencing some unprecedented events this year, some climate catastrophes, from fires to hurricanes to intense heat, and then, of course, as we know all too well, the pandemic. I believe nature is really trying to tell us something, call us to something else, perhaps wake us up. All of this, I believe, invites us to step more deeply into our relationship with Earth, with ourselves, and of course, with the Creator. It's a wonderful time together as well because we're in the season of creation. It began on September 1st and will conclude on October 4th, celebrating the great feast of St. Francis, who's considered to be the saint of ecology. At Mercy Eco-Spirituality in Vermont, we have created the Cosmic Walk. It tells the story of the 13.7 billion year unfolding of the universe. We mark it with 28 significant moments of grace from the original flaring forth, or Big Bang, to the present time. It's a narrative, really, of one single unfolding story. Thomas Berry said, "The universe, by definition, is a single glorious celebratory event." So the Cosmic Walk, it's a powerful ritual that tells the great story of our shared existence. It invokes a remarkable sense of sacredness in unity of Earth with the great, complex, and chaotic life it harbors. It evokes a sense of sacredness and the unity of all created life. In it, we honor the emergence of stars and galaxies, our solar system, wondrous Earth, out of which emerged life. And all of life, every possible variety and form, from the one-celled bacteria to such complexities of eye and brain and language, and the creativity that's come through music and art. The Cosmic Walk was created in the 80s by Sister Miriam Therese McGillis at Genesis Farm in New Jersey. She created a spiral of the evolutionary journey of the universe as a way to tell the scientific story so that it would touch our hearts as well as our minds. So, at Mercy Echo Spirituality Center in Vermont, we've created a trail through the woods to tell this story of the unfolding universe. It's a beautiful setting that will also deepen, I believe, your sense of wonder, as well as draw you into a sense of kinship with all beings, with all of creation. The markers are Vermont slate, so even they are part of the local story of evolution. One more thing to note, time or timing. The story covers 13.7 billion years. Now that's really hard for me to grasp. But if you think of that period of time as a year, January 1st being the great flaring forth, you'll note as we take the walk that there's a long period of time before the other events begin to unfold, and great spaces in between each of those unfolding events. And most of what happens really begins to come to life and happen in December. So this unfolding shows that everything in the story was necessary for the following thing to happen. And take note, we humans only come into the story just before midnight on December 31st. So ponder what took place before us, before humans, without us. I hope this story will help you to deepen your sense of wonder and awe that we're here at all, as well as help you feel a deepened sense of connection and interrelatedness with all of life. The whole of life lies in seeing, wrote paleontologist and philosopher Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. So I invite you to now walk this cosmic journey to see not only with your eyes, but also with your heart. This is a story, the story of the cosmos, the story of Earth, the story of the human, of gazelle, insects, mountains, sky, the story of you and me. It is the narrative of one single integrated activity. The story is a living reminder of the great journey of the universe from its dramatic beginning to the present. We'll note some of the special events that Thomas Berry calls moments of grace, and notice how every moment was necessary for the next sequence of transformations that resulted in the full flowering of Earth and the development of a consciousness that could reflect on it all with awe and wonder. Let your eyes see with gratitude as you walk this sacred path. 13.7 billion years ago, out of the mysterious chaos, the universe is born in the Great Flaring Forth, or as some call it, the Big Bang. It contained all the light, energy, and potential for everything that would ever come to be. That explosion of energy then began to slow down, cool, differentiate, and all the primal stars and galaxies became its shape. And then some 10 to 14 billion years ago, galaxies came forth. Stars are born, live, and die. Larger stars in their death throes explode and become supernovas. As they live, stars transform their hydrogen and helium into heavier elements: carbon, oxygen, aluminum. Large stars in their death throes become supernovas, giving out to the cosmos their precious gifts of selenium, tungsten, uranium. These treasures will be gathered into the bodies of future generations of stars and planets. Supernovas are the mothers of the universe, creating in their wombs the seed of life. Birth, death, and resurrection are an ancient theme of the universe. Six to 10 billion more years pass. Then exploding stardust began to slow down, cool, and condense into a community of planets around the mother star, our sun. The solar system was born. Our sun and all the planets and other members of the solar system family emerged from the dispersed body of our grandmother star. Here begins the story of what will become one blue and white pearl of a planet. Earth slowly cooled and gradually formed an atmosphere, oceans, and landmass. $3.4 billion years ago, we have living Earth, living cells. Sun and Earth awaken life. The energy of the solar system transformed atmosphere and ocean. The rich chemical brew brings forth invisibly small creatures we call bacteria, the first living cells. Earth learned to take nourishment from the sun. She learned to eat sunlight, to nurse from the sun. Sun energy into Earth life. Around 2.3 billion years ago, all of the creativity so far took place almost entirely in the microscopic realm when the first continents began to rise out of the oceans. The planet then became engulfed in its most extensive glaciation in the history of life. Life mutated into blue-green bacteria that took hydrogen from the seas. The power to deal with oxygen, the single greatest transformation in the history of Earth, was second only to the emergence of life itself. 1.5 billion years ago, when Earth was first formed, it was a hot ball of molten rock and metal. Since it was mostly liquid, heavier elements like iron and nickel sank down into the planet and accumulated at the core. Without this magnetic field, our environment would be more like cold, dead Mars. And then about 1 billion years ago, life was mysteriously drawn toward union, and the first simple-celled organisms began to reproduce sexually. Different strands of genetic memory were combined in the new offspring. Around the same time, organisms began to feed on other organisms, and that relationship formed the basis of community in which we each would develop. Ecosystems emerged around 600 million years ago. Multi-celled organisms began to eat one another. Worms and jellyfish appear with the first nervous system. Predator organisms arise, ones who have learned to use the complex biomolecules of neighboring organisms, thereby saving their own genetic resources for the development of greater physical capacities. Plants and animals begin to move onto land some 425 million years ago. This first life forms that left the oceans, the first heroes onto land, were the plants. The continents were barren as moonscape. There was no living soil, nothing green. On land was a mighty invisible power so forceful that life remained in the ocean for 90% of Earth's history. Can you guess what this power was? Gravity. Gravity is an ordering principle of the universe. Its effects are suspended for organisms in the oceans. Then the first trees, vertebrates, amphibians go ashore 370 million years ago. Plant creativity was the naked seed. Conifers, ginkgo, yew, trees could bring male and female gametes together to create seed without the need of a moist surface. They literally seeded themselves across the continents to become full forests. Reptiles show up 313 million years ago. The vertebrate world was radically new. The first crucial invention was the amniotic egg, with an impervious shell free from the amphibian dependence on water. Things begin to happen really quickly now in the Mesozoic era. Flowering plants, grasses, birds, the extinction of the dinosaur. Earth adorns herself magnificently in flowers, making themselves irresistible to insects by way of colors, perfumes, delightful nectars. Continents shift and oceans form. One large landmass begins to come apart. New oceans are formed as the waters rushed into the newly opened areas. The first birds take flight. More flowers emerge. Earth, through the birds, broke into melody and song. Primates appear a mere 700 million years ago. Many of their characteristics represent adaptations to life in the challenging environment. Now we enter a period of stupendous activity, the full flowering of Earth. Various orders of mammals appear 30 to 40 million years ago. Then we encounter juvenile African chimpanzees. They stand up, walk on two legs, leave their forest home. They move over the surface of Earth, eventually spreading over 6 continents. Then 3.7 million years ago, the first human Homo erectus. And then an ice age, 3.3 million years ago. This ice age shaped mountains, valleys, rivers, lakes, and streams. They began to form our present bioregions. And then 200,000 years ago, modern Homo sapiens. The story of the human is one of emergence and development of a mode of consciousness characterized by its sense of wonder and celebration. Modern humans and language, words took form and meaning. The floodgates of life open. Contemporary events evolve not simply the human. Human activities affect all other components of life on the planet. This is a moment of grace. We must awaken to the sacred dimensions of our Earth. The comprehensive objective of this era is to establish a mutually enhancing relationship with Earth and Earth community. We have a common destiny, a shared future. So now you know your story, the story of the universe, everyone's story, a sacred story. Look in the mirror. You are the universe in the form of a human, and you're kin with every other human being, every other creature, every other piece of creation. You are the sacred story in your very essence. A teaching from the ancient Mesoamerican lineage says, to be human, one must make room in one's heart for the universe. A sense of the universe in our heart expands our horizons to put our work, our play, our business, politics, our religion, economics, all of it into its proper context, a larger context than human identity. It puts things in the context of creation itself, that magical interrelationship of all things that are part of one another. Meister Eckhart said, what happens to another, whether it be a joy or a sorrow, happens to me. And again, all creatures are interdependent. The story of the unfolding universe shows us just how interrelated we are with everything. In this shift in our understanding that we humans are a part of the entire circle of life, that we're not over it, we're not above it, we are one with it, changes everything. And once we know our story, I think we could begin to see with new eyes, with new hearts. And perhaps then we become more willing, more compelled to, as Thomas Berry said, to do the great work of our time, to create that era when humans live in a mutually enhancing relationship with Earth and the entire Earth community. That great work perhaps can be summed up in three things to consider, invitations that come to us from Laudato Si: making lifestyle changes, educating ourselves ecologically, and finally, ecological conversion. So lifestyle changes mean we look at our actions and decisions in light of their impact on Earth. So what changes can be made to help restore life and balance with ourselves, with others, with all of creation? Education, learning about our environment, and from that learning, acting with a sense of greater responsibility with regard to the impact that we have on Earth. Our consumer habits, what we buy, how much we buy, where we buy it from, how we spend our time, whether it's in front of a computer, a TV, or taking a walk outside, all of those things are taken into consideration. And we make changes according to really what will put us in greater relationship and love with our planet. Ecological conversion means a change of heart, a change of attitude, a change from within in terms of how we see ourselves in relationship, interdependence with all of creation, where we see all of creation as gift, as a reflection of the divine. So in the words of the poet Mary Oliver, what will you do with your one wild and precious life? And for us, as part of Mercy, this Mercy Week, let us all have mercy on our earth.